Today, I want to discuss how the new social media rules may negatively affect your application for permanent residency. In particular, I want to focus on individuals who are seeking a green card through marriage. Now, you might be thinking that the recent rules, if you've been following the news, doesn't apply to you because the government mentioned specifically that they were going to be focusing on individuals from abroad. They're applying for abroad and they're hoping to visit the United States for a short-term period. Well, that was the gist of the government announcement. However, I believe that announcement is broader than that, and there were indications in that announcement that it's broader. So I believe even if you're here in the United States and you're seeking a green card, that you're vulnerable to the government's new monitoring, which is not so new, of social media accounts. Their new investigation of individuals through looking at their social media handles. I don't believe the government's looking at social media accounts is new. Based on my own practice, I believe the government has been looking at social media accounts since at least 2010. And we know after December 2015 and the shootings in San Bernardino, which left several people dead, that the government accelerated their efforts to look at social media accounts. Why? Because the shooters were married and the U.S. citizen shooter had brought in his wife through a fiancé visa from abroad. So the question became, how did someone seeking a K-1 visa slip through the cracks? How was this not discovered at the time of their interview? The government said that they're going to be putting out new forms that are going to ask individuals for their most previous 5 years of social media history. Filling it out will be mandatory. Filling it out truthfully will be mandatory. Some individuals might think, well, I have some fake IDs, I have some aliases. How will they know those are my accounts? Well, you don't want to take that chance, because if you do, then you've misrepresented. You've lied to the government. And that's a denial, not just of your application for now, but it could be forever that you might not be entitled to a green card. If someone says none in terms of that questionnaire, in terms of that new form, and there are some individuals that don't use social media, it has to be a legitimate none. If you don't know the names, then your best answer will be, I don't know at the present time, but I'll get back to you and I'll add that information. You don't want to not tell the truth to the government. The reality is this: everyone could be investigated. It doesn't mean you will be investigated. In fact, it probably makes some sense to think that the government's going to be doing this on a random basis, every fifth application. Or it may be every third application, every 10th application, unless they spot some red flags, unless there's some warning signs in your application that they're focusing on. And that could lead to some real problems. In fact, that's one of the criticisms, is that the government could target certain groups of people. If you're from a certain country, then they may target you just because you're from that country. And so there's some profiling going on. But be that as it may, this is going to be a regulation, a rule you have to deal with. So you need to be awfully careful. So to really understand what you have to be careful about, you have to understand what the government is thinking. First and foremost, This is geared to weeding out security and terrorist threats. Ostensibly, that's what the government has said, and that is, in all likelihood, their main concern. But a second concern is good moral character. If you're an individual who may not have been convicted of any wrongdoing, but you engage in some nefarious type of activities, not so above the board, you could be in danger. The third thing I think the government's aiming at, and this is where I really want to focus here, is that they want to weed out fraudulent marriages. In recent months, there's been a flurry of fraudulent marriages discovered throughout the country. So the government has always been concerned about false marriages. And I believe this is just another tool so that they can monitor relationships more closely to ensure that those who receive green cards through a marriage actually deserve them. And the corollary of that, which I believe is the fourth reason for the government doing this, is that they don't want to give out benefits to individuals who don't deserve them. And that's certainly a legitimate government purpose. So you have to be real careful, no matter how clean, no matter how squeaky clean your case is, to make sure that your social media now is kept pretty clean. And that's the problem. That's the problem. You know, I know individuals get on social media and they tend to exaggerate a little. They tend to over dramatize. It's that tendency that can get individuals in trouble. Social media is like being at a party with a bunch of individuals. And you might be talking to this person, but the person standing behind you or the other person in the group is also hearing what you say. You have to be careful about that. It's almost like having a microphone and more than just one individual can hear you. Because your social media provides clues to the government about who you really are, about the truth of your relationship. But they only see it in a small context. They only see it in a small window. They only see those snapshots that you give them. So those individuals who like to exaggerate or over dramatize, and they provide those snapshots for those friends, will be also providing those snapshots for the government. And the government's looking at those snapshots not to laugh along with you, but to ask themselves, are you telling the truth on your green card application? So let's look at some, what I think are common examples where individuals can find themselves in trouble. Let's say you're an applicant for a fiancé visa from abroad, a K-1 visa, and you list on your post, on your social media post, on your social media handle, that you're married. That's going to be a problem. Because to qualify for social media, you have to be not married. Because that's why you're coming to the United States, to get married. Or how about someone that applies for a green card, or someone that sponsors someone for a green card, petitions for a sponsor, and on their social media posts it says single. That could be a real problem. Why would you leave single there when supposedly you're married and sponsoring someone for a green card, or you're married and someone's sponsoring you for a green card? It could also be the same as to say those individuals who, but my relationship is complicated. Well, the government could say, yeah, it's complicated. Are you married or are you single? And it could lead to a lot of unnecessary questioning and, in fact, some difficulty proving to the government that you have a bona fide marriage, that you have a bona fide relationship. Individuals sometimes post about things that are really criminal acts, or they have a criminal aspect to it. I don't know how I got home from that party last Saturday. I was so drunk, and I got in my car. All I remember is getting home. Well, come on. You're drunk. You're driving drunk. Do you want the government to see that? Or some people, like, every weekend, they're out and about, and they're posting pictures. A bunch of alcohol around them. Everybody looks like, they're intoxicated. That's not a good sign to show the government. That's not a good picture to paint for them. Or individuals saying, well, they talk about receiving benefits from the government when they don't have the paperwork to qualify for the benefits. The government knows that they're seeking immigration status, but they don't have it. So how would they qualify for those benefits? And sometimes, like I said, people exaggerate. They just say that to their friends to pretend they have more than they really have. And that can create a problem. Or let's say an individual has come to the U.S. a few times to visit their uncle, their aunt, their cousins on a visitor's visa, and maybe they left on time. Okay. But during the time they were here, they worked. And they took pictures of themselves at work. And they mentioned going to parties with their company or with their fellow employees. Well, they violated the terms of their visa, didn't they? Well, that can come back to haunt them at the time that they're seeking to re-enter the U.S., say, on a FIANCE visa. Sometimes individuals will say things like, when I get to the U.S., I'm thinking about staying there. I don't think I'm going to be returning. Well, but if you have a temporary visa to come to the U.S., then how can you say that? It's like telling the government, I'm not coming as a visitor. I'm not coming as a student. That could be a big problem. And even if it happened 3 or 4 years ago, which is why they're asking for the 5-year history. If it goes back 3 or 4 years ago, and that was the last time you entered the United States, they're going to pick up on it. And it's going to count against you right now. Or it may be that you came in and you stayed here. And so your spouse now is trying to immigrate you here, and you qualify, say, under 245I. But then the government sees that when you entered, you didn't have the intent to leave. You must have misled the consulate officers in saying that you were coming here temporarily. That could be a problem. There's also the possibility individuals sometimes say crazy things like, when I'm going to party, I'm going to blow up the house. I'm going to blow this up. Well, the government seeing it in a snapshot could see that as some type of terrorist inclination, especially for individuals who are from certain countries. But the errors people make on social media that could harm them are not just deliberate statements they make, careless statements they make. They can also be omissions. Someone who shares a lot of pictures on social media, on Instagram, say, on Facebook, and a lot of those pictures shows them having good times with friends, with coworkers, with whatever, okay? Any type of social events. But none of the photos show their spouse or future spouse. None of the photos indicate a bona fide relationship or a bona fide marriage. So that would be an omission. And an officer would look at it and say, whoa, where's the other party? Where's the other half? Where's the significant other? Someone posts a lot of things about their life, not just photos going out with people, but they go to church, they go to Disneyland, they take trips with other individuals, but none of them has a picture of their bona fide relationship partner, their spouse or their future spouse. Those kinds of acts of omission can come back to haunt individuals. And I would go so far that even though the government says they want their 5-year social media history, that doesn't mean they're only looking at 5 years of social media history. They just want your handles. They want your aliases. They want your names. But that doesn't mean they're going to, if they have your name and your account's been open 12 years, they can look at the 12 years. So don't think they're not going to be looking backwards. They will. You have to be careful about that. And then there's the fact that social media could get you in problems in terms of posts by others. A person is seeking to marry a new person. They've gone through a divorce. But their ex-spouse has posted all these pictures on social media and tagged the individual so that they pop up on their feed. Whoa, what's the government going to say? Who's this? And there are no indication when that picture is taken. It's going to, of course, lead to a bunch of questions from the officer. Well, who's this other person you're hugging? It could be the same thing you're doing at a party or something with your family, a Christmas party, Thanksgiving, a birthday party. And you're a male and the female cousins are hugging you and having a good time with you. Well, it's going to look like something else, and it could lead to questions. Now, you're not going to go so far as tell all your relatives and friends, hey, don't tag me, don't include me in pictures. That won't happen. But you have to be aware that those types of things could, in the long run, cause you some problems in terms of getting a green card. So to wrap this up, let's go through some of the things you should look for. A quick checklist of sorts. Of course, as I mentioned, watch your exaggeration and watch how you over-dramatize on social media. If you're seeking a marriage or a fiancé visa, be sure that your relationship status is not only public, but accurate. Don't flirt with other individuals, not your spouse, on social media. Don't post, in other words, anything that seems suspicious on social media to an investigating USCIS officer or immigration officer at the consulate. Be real careful. Don't post photos when you're drunk or you're out of control, or issue statements like that. Don't joke about deceiving the government or hating the government. I would not think you should, in any case, use profanity or threaten somebody. That's a red flag on good moral character. They're going to be watching that very closely. Don't joke about crimes or illicit activities. You have to be careful. Social media, even though it's social, was never intended for individuals to show their worst side. But of course, human nature being what it is, a lot of individuals violate rules of courtesy, rules of common sense in terms of their public personas. It's much like someone driving down the street and they run a red light. Well, they feel nobody's watching them. Well, the rules are there. Live by them. Use social media wisely. Use it carefully. Use it cautiously, and you should be okay. But beware. Beware that the new social media rules could undermine you and the person you love in your efforts to live together forever. With that, take care and good luck. Thanks for watching. Know someone who might be interested in this video? Then please take a moment to like and share it with them. Also, if you would like more videos on immigration, just click on the subscribe button. And here's a little bonus, a short guide that you can download for free by clicking on the link on the description box or the square-shaped image. Plus, if you have ideas for videos you'd like to see, write a short comment below, or feel free to contact me at carlos@VitaraImmigrationLaw.com or by calling 800-287-1180. My name is Carlos Vitara. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll be talking again very, very soon.